Namaste. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night Anam Cara Meditation program. And with all my heart, with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. And so good to be able to get together and share this gathering dedicated to knowing the highest, living the highest, directly experiencing the highest from the source that's within each and every one of us. So we gather together in this satsang, this keeping company of the truth. The truth is, you are the infinite, you are the divine, as is everyone and all that we perceive. So coming home to that and being able to realize that and experience that directly, that's the intention of the practices. And we do it both out of a sense that, yes, that helps relieve our suffering. And the freer we get from, what prevents us from experiencing that moment by moment is the mind and our identification with that. But as we get freer and freer from that, we're also more and more empowered to help others become free. And that is essentially the nature of these kinds of practices done in a kind of bodhisattva from the Buddhist tradition, this highest compassion, this recognition that that's what we're doing here. And bodhicitta, that wisdom and compassion combined, that are innate, that are natural expressions of the very root awareness that we are. But to come to know that, we dedicate our practices, we dedicate our lives, because every moment is practice, to knowing that, so that, yes, we get free and we create the conditions where we can free all beings from suffering. And that's the highest intention, because that's selflessness. That's part of the practice. Whether it's in karma yoga and doing selfless service and serving others from that pure place of heart, that is what informs all the practices, that we're doing it not just for ourselves, we're doing it for the benefit of all beings. And of course, along the way, we come to the direct experience that there are no other beings, that everything is our own self. So we really are doing it for ourself, but in that universal understanding of it. So living the practices, doing the practices, that's what we're gathering to explore and deepen our experience with. I wanted to make mention, as I did in the e-newsletter today, that on Tuesday we lost a great bodhisattva. Somebody who was really dedicated, Bob Thurman, Tenzin Bob Thurman. He was one of he was the first Westerner who was ordained as a Tibetan Buddhist monk, trained under His Holiness Dalai Lama and the teachers that His Holiness assigned to him, to learn and take the vows of a monk and live that bodhisattva ideal, that we're living our lives for the benefit of all beings. And he really embodied that over decades. I got to know him some there in the last 25, 30 years. And always, this great-hearted being who had a brilliant mind, a great laugh, and insights into teachings and practice. I mean, he was a real scholar, so he was fluent in a number of languages, understood the scriptures and texts kind of backwards and forwards, and generously imparted that. And so he lived that ideal and passed on Tuesday. And with his commitment as a bodhisattva, I know he's going to be back, and being back to help all beings continue on their path as his consciousness continues on its path. But to honor the gifts that he made available to the West through his writings, through his videos, through the many courses that he's offered over decades. Back, it must have been almost 20 years ago, I took a medicine Buddha empowerment with him and Gelek Rinpoche. Gelek Rinpoche was one of His Holiness's teachers, and Gelek Rinpoche was up at Bob Thurman's retreat center, Menla, up outside of Woodstock, and they put on an empowerment ceremony for the medicine Buddha, and so I was able to attend that and receive that. And so receive those gifts of the profound teachings, but also the power of transmission, the power that we know through mantra, and that the transmission is sort of encoded in the power of mantra, because mantra is this pure form of consciousness, as pure as it can be as a form, but it's a throb of the boundless consciousness that takes the sound form in order to help empower us to go beyond the mind, so that our consciousness can get freed from the confines of the mind and discover, the truth of who we are. Whether we call that truth our Buddha nature, whether we call that our Christ consciousness, whether we call it Shiva, Shakti, the names, they're not so important. Those are names that come from the mind. That which is beyond the mind is truly unnameable, unspeakable, unimaginable. This is very humbling for the mind to come to terms with, that the mind itself is never going to grasp the infinitude of being. It's part of why we have to come to this profound stillness, this profound rest in the depths of meditation, because any movement of mind also engenders identification with the movement. So we become the thought, we become the feeling, we become the role that we've played, we become our history that we keep telling ourselves about, we become the narrative that we live over and over again. All of that is mind. So all of it we can be free of. So when Buddhas, bodhisattvas, sages, saints across traditions talk about the state of radical freedom, we're talking about literally a state that is unimaginable. Because if it's imaginable, it's in the mind. It's going to have limitations. It's going to be, if it's speakable, it's in the mind. It's not that. So we see that too reflected in the words of many mystics across traditions. Christian mystics would talk about, the God that one can speak of is not God. Great Christian mystic Meister Eckhart said the last obstacle to God is God, meaning one's concept of God, one's imagining of God. Whatever that might be, that's got to go. We have to enter into the state of union that is beyond words. So that's what our practices are aimed at. And really that's what Bob Thurman was passing on in his teachings and programs he led, empowerments that he participated in giving. So he really lived that. And it was visible when you were around him, and you could feel that sense of also the compassion that was reflected in his commitment to be able to pass on, right? His commitment to want to teach right up to the end and keep going. Now, there are courses that were still on the schedule for the next weeks and months ahead with Bob Thurman. So maybe he's going to participate in those from the great beyond. I don't know. But his grand consciousness and his wisdom, he left so many beautiful works that we can continue to make use of and draw on that wisdom. Tremendous resource still available to us. And his work through Tibet House, through the Menla Retreat Foundation, is his work for His Holiness the Dalai Lama, for saving Tibet, just all selfless service, just giving and giving and giving. So really, really magnificent. So we honor his life, we honor his passing, and may he return quickly. Humanity needs those kinds of lights walking on this plane, this domain, this earthly domain known as Karma Bhumi, the realm of karma, and dealing with the cause and effects of our actions in body, speech, and mind. It's all that we're dealing with, and learning to differentiate who we are apart from that, and also to work and live skillfully within that. So the teachings, the practices, they help empower us to do that, because they help us to be able to see more clearly, more consciously, see beyond the limitations of the mind, and see beyond what the fears of the mind are, see beyond what the irritability or anger of the mind is, right? So that we can come to know, what's the eternal that is the substratum for all the ephemeral comings and goings of all the content of mind. It's on the level of the eternal that we finally get rest from the ephemeral. So it's the eternal is what's unchanging. Oh, what's that? You know, the yogis call it Satchidananda, the pure being, awareness, consciousness that's rapturously, lovingly suffused with that loving compassion. Buddha talked about it as the four immeasurables, same kind of idea. But we can come to know that because those are unchanging. All the states of mind, a happy mind, a sad mind, they're all changing. So it's not, the practices have a side effect of helping to stabilize the mind, help it to change its state, to become less reactive, so that the mind becomes more clear, more transparent to that eternal presence that is the truth of who you are. So that we have this steadiness that diminishes the reactivity of the mind. But it's not about, and some people get caught in, oh, I'm just trying to change the state of my mind. Yes, we want to improve the state of the mind, but the state of knowing is beyond mind. It's beyond a state of mind. So even Buddha talked about, don't be attached to states of mind. Even in the process of clearing out what's got to be cleared out from the mind and from the body, is going to create times of turmoil, and things are moving around in mind and body. To be able to witness that, to watch that from the place of just simply being and being present, compassionately present with the fluctuations of the mind, with the challenges that the body deals with. And certainly it's preparation for, and the yogis knew this, Buddha knew this, it's preparation for what happens at the end of life, when we don't have control over what that process is going to be for our body as it gets old and weakens and things happen. How do we be present with that, with steady wisdom? How do we have a ground in that pure sense of being that isn't affected by that sense that, oh, the body is changing. It's gone through many changes. It was born. That was a rough experience. Fortunately, most of us don't remember it. But we grew up, and there's lots of memories of what we went through growing up. How do we relate to them from a place of steadiness? We go through adulthood, all kinds of up and downs. How do we move through those waters with steadiness, with groundedness, so that even as the end of life is coming about, we have our groundedness in being, in the unchanging nature of the eternal, that helps to carry us across that threshold of the loss of this ordinary body-mind, but consciousness continues. And so the practices open the door for us to know that directly, not to take somebody else's word for it, but to know it directly, so that we can face those kinds of changes free of fear, because we know that which is eternal is untouched by changes in body and mind. So that's what we're coming home to. That's what the practices lead us towards. We explore that further. We have a new course coming up that's going to start a week from this Sunday on June 28th, Listening to the Divine Within. And it's a contemplative practice for going into greater stillness and listening. And we use the poetry that has come through in this new volume that it will be out probably the end of August or beginning of September, called Invite Them In, she said. And so a collection of poems and writings, very similar the same source as Kali's Bazaar, Oh My Beloved, Gently Falls Her Rain of Light. Now we have this new volume because she keeps giving and giving. It's a fountain of grace and wisdom that is unceasing. And so as we listen more and more deeply, we find that within ourselves. That's the whole point of the practices, is that we get to know that source. We might make use of something that seems external, another set of words or another set of practices, but it's all leading towards knowing what the ground of being is, and that very source is within each and every one of us. So still time to sign up for that course if you're interested. Just email me and you can register for that. And so again, that'll be starting on Sunday afternoon, June 28th, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So, and registration information is on the Anam Cara website, as well as on the Soul's Journey website, and on in the e-newsletter. So, coming home to know the infinite that has so many different names. You know, humanity has been approaching this, well, for as long as humanity had evolved the consciousness to be aware that there was something beyond its animal nature. That we evolved into beings that could look beyond the very nature of body and mind and start to experience in various mystical states what is transcendent as well as immanent. And so for thousands of years, humanity has been exploring that. We're drawn to transcendence. And sometimes we try to transcend things in negative ways, unhealthy ways. Drugs, alcohol, getting lost in a group, whatever. That's a form of transcendence, but it's a destructive form. So it doesn't serve. It serves to just diminish us. But the practices, they evolved to empower us to go beyond the ordinary mind and know the truth of who we are without destroying the poor body and mind. Because they, in the process, get transformed into servants of your highest self. They become like transparent glass. So that the light of yourself, just like sun, streams in through the glass of a window and illuminates what's in the room. So that light of consciousness can stream through the transparent mind and body to illuminate your life with the truth. So we get to see the truth of what others are. We can see how to be skillful in our actions so that this can arise spontaneously. That's where the practices take us. And one of the earliest forms that we have of writings about that ground of being is the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu. Some almost 3,000 years ago, he was writing about this. You know, and there's what's called the axial age, runs from roughly 500, 600, 700 BC to just after the birth of Christ. We had these great, extraordinary beings like Lao Tzu, like Buddha, like Christ, the truth coming through these luminous beings. And so what I wanted to share tonight were some of the writings from Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching. And, you know, they're for many people very approachable because they don't invoke any particular kind of deity. And people, because of the conditioned mind, have allergies. You know, I'm allergic to this name of the deity, but not that one. I'm allergic to that other one, but not this one. I'm allergic to it's feminine. No, I only want a masculine. I don't like masculine. I don't want the feminine. These are just the vagaries of the mind. We shouldn't take them too seriously. Eventually, all such limitations have to go so that we can see the unity that underlies all the multiplicity. That's where we want to come to rest. So this is the Tao Te Ching. This is one of my favorite translations by Stephen Mitchell. And the Tao, well, the Tao, as it says right in the Tao Te Ching, a Tao that can be spoken of is not the Tao. So we're right back with all the great mystics saying, well, words are going to try and point towards what can be experienced directly and known directly, but the words shouldn't be confused with what it is. So we want to keep that in mind. The Tao is the ground of all being. We could say, oh, the Tao is Shakti, the Tao is pure consciousness, the Tao is Rigpa, the Tao is Holy Spirit. We have different ways, again, all of which are fingers pointing at the moon. They're symbolic language trying to point beyond themselves. So we don't want to get into any kind of fundamentalism that makes concrete what is really symbolic and pointing beyond itself. And that's the very nature of Tao. So this is chapter 48 in the Tao Te Ching. In the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day, something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. It can't be gained by interfering. The master has no mind of her own. She works with the mind of the people. She is good to people who are good. She is also good to people who are not good. This is true goodness. She trusts people who are trustworthy. And she also trusts people who aren't trustworthy. This is true trust. The master's mind is like space. People don't understand her. They look to her and wait. She treats them like her own children. Now, these are very subtle. So when the ordinary mind hears that, it goes, wait a minute, I just trust everybody. No, there's a much more refined notion of what's being trusted. You can trust a person to act untrustworthy. Trust, in a sense, is knowing and be able to see, accept and be present, act skillfully in connection to. But it's not the degradation of the individual, because they too are an embodiment of the Tao. The master gives himself up to whatever the moment brings. He knows that he is going to die, and he has nothing left to hold on to. No illusions in his mind, no resistances in his body. He doesn't think about his actions. They flow from the core of his being. He holds nothing back from life. Therefore, he is ready for death, as a man is ready for sleep after a good day's work. Every being in the universe is an expression of the Tao. It springs into existence, unconscious, perfect, free, and takes on a physical body. Let circumstances complete it. That is why every being spontaneously honors the Tao. So even just as we are an expression of that. There's a perfection even to the imperfection. It's like saying, it's all born of Shakti, the power of consciousness to create the infinite in finite forms. What creates it all? Its essence remains pure Shakti. Its essence remains Tao. The Tao gives birth to all things, nourishes them, maintains them, cares for them, comforts them, protects them, takes them back to itself, creating without possessing, acting without expecting, guiding without interfering. That is why love of the Tao is the very nature of things. In the beginning was the Tao. All things issue from it. All things return to it. To find the origin, trace back the manifestations. When you recognize the children and find the mother, you will be free of sorrow. What an exquisite verse that is. To find the origin, trace back the manifestations. When you recognize the children and find the mother, you will be free of sorrow. That is what happens when we watch the mind. We watch the manifestations. We watch the children, the offspring of thoughts and impulses. But when we watch them and trace them back farther and farther, what do we find? The mother. Tao, mother of all. Shakti, Tao, mother of all. Dancing in form, the root, the eternal foundation of all that is ephemeral. So we trace it back. We go back to source. We have to let go of being all identified with, engaged with this thought, this memory, this feeling, this thing from yesterday, this thing I'm anticipating tomorrow. All that we let go. We let go. Because we want to come to the mother of it all. The mother of it all is the root of being. The Tao. If you close your mind to judgments and traffic with desires, your heart will be troubled. If you keep your mind from judging and aren't led by the senses, your heart will find peace. So if you close your mind in judgments close, they contract, and traffic with desires. More contraction, more limitation on consciousness, attention, focus, all getting contracted, all getting limited. But if you keep your mind from judging and aren't led by the senses, your heart will find peace. Seeing into the darkness is clarity. Knowing how to yield is strength. Use your own light and return to the source of light. This is called practicing eternity. Eternity. What's eternal? The light of consciousness. So when we use the light of consciousness to just illuminate nature of mind, and knowing that's mind, not me. That's a thought, that's a feeling, it's not me. If I identify with it, then I become it, then I get limited, then I get contracted, then I get lost in it. But you use the light of your own awareness to illuminate, and in that illumination, you become more free. Use your own light and return to the source of light. So when we're sitting in meditation, the light of consciousness is illuminating all our experience, everything about our body, our mind, our surroundings. But we get caught up in all that stuff, the content. The idea is shift attention away from all the ephemeral content to what's illuminating it. What illuminates it all? That self-luminous one. That is consciousness itself. That's the consciousness of infinitude. So by letting go of mind, we can come to know directly the boundless nature of consciousness that's always illuminating every experience. It's present all day long, illuminating everything you experience. Inside and outside, all illuminated by consciousness. No consciousness, no experience. It illuminates the dream state, so that when we're asleep to the world and images and sights, sounds, all kinds of things, what's illuminating that? The light of consciousness, the light of the Tao. So we attend to that light, which means withdraw attention from all the objects of the senses, desires, all those things that I was talking about, and turn it back to its source. So that, we can become absorbed in that. Because what our attention, awareness, focuses on, we become. So that's how we become. Mind, body, thoughts, feelings, reactions, everything. Turn it towards light itself and stay with that. Let go of any I or me or anything. We become empty of self. Then we can know fullness of illumination. That's the gift of our own innate presence. The great way is easy, yet people prefer the side paths. Be aware when things are out of balance. Stay centered in the Tao. So we're in a world very out of balance right now. So we have to stay centered in awareness. And see all the reactivity of mind and body, all the conditioned responses, all the triggers, all that stuff. It's not you. Not the nature of consciousness. The nature of mind, nature of conditioned mind, nature of body, conditioned body. We see it, but we see it with compassion, patience, kindness, knowing that we ourselves are eternally free, self-luminous. So we can watch that. We can watch the world with tremendous compassion and intervene in whatever ways we can to reduce suffering in the world. But we can know it from a platform that is free of suffering. That's beyond suffering. That's what Buddha was talking about. That's what Lao Tzu was talking about. That's really what Jesus was talking about. To know the kingdom of heaven. And him saying, it lies within. That's where the king is. To know that, be grounded in that. To what the Christian mystics would call putting on the mind of Christ. So that you both know that domain of unity consciousness with the infinite, even while seeing and experiencing this domain of limitations. When rich speculators prosper while farmers lose their land, when government officials spend money on weapons instead of cures, when the upper class is extravagant and irresponsible while the poor have nowhere to turn, all this is robbery and chaos. It is not in keeping with the Tao. This is not new, what we're seeing. This is, individual egos, collective egos, wanting to hoard, wanting to dominate, wanting to exploit, wanting to be just driven by power and greed. It's been going on for thousands of years. So Lao Tzu is addressing that and saying, yeah, that's out of balance. And that's what we keep trying to change, to bring into balance. It's part of why humanity evolved the system of democracy. Democracy was meant to equalize, to hold up the idea of equality and justice for all. And then who keeps trying to undermine it? Those who want power for themselves, possessions for themselves, the individual and group collective selfishness and greed that then tries to subvert democracy. Well, we're seeing that full scale here. So when we stand for democracy, we're standing for Dharma. We're standing for equality consciousness. We're standing for the highest. And we're helping to relieve suffering and to help evolve a system that can further reduce suffering and create greater equality in the world for the benefit of all beings, including those poor beings who have no say in government because they're all the species that are being driven to extinction by those who are greedy and for power and money and don't care how they pollute and destroy the earth. So standing for Dharma, standing for democracy is now a real spiritual practice that we bring our discernment and our power and our thinking to in service of all. Whoever is planted in the Tao will not be rooted up. Whoever embraces the Tao will not slip away. Her name will be held in honor from generation to generation. Become established in pure being. Become established in that all-embracing consciousness, the Tao. Let the Tao be present in your life and you will become genuine. Let it be present in your family and your family will flourish. Let it be present in your country and your country will be an example to all countries in the world. Let it be present in the universe and the universe will sing. How do I know this is true, says Lao Tzu? By looking inside myself, he said. By looking inside ourselves, we come to know this truth. By going past the mind and all its attachments, all its identifications, to body, to roles, to history, to narratives. That's how we come to know that truth. By entering into that state of stillness, of openness, of pure being, that then is self-revealing. What is it revealing? Oh, the infinitude of being, as well as illuminating mind and body and all that it is involved with, but from a place of freedom, a place of compassion, wisdom, kindness. That's what we're capable of. That's what this human life affords us the ability to know, because it's innate. So we want to make the best use of this precious gift of a human birth, to really fully know that and live that and revel in that and invite others to revel in it. so that we can all become free and all flourish together, because there are enough resources for us to all flourish together. So the Tao, the same as Buddha mind, same as Christ consciousness, is pure, unbounded awareness, Rigpa, in the Buddhist tradition, this pure, pristine awareness. That's what we turn our attention to in meditation. That's what mantra is a throb of. It's a pulsation of that. So we're going to be chanting now for a few minutes. We're going to be chanting Om Mani Padme Hum. And Om Mani Padme Hum, the great Mani mantra, it's known as the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, but it just means Avalokiteshvara is boundless compassion. So in a sense, it's boundless compassion and wisdom in sound form. It's that consciousness that has taken the form of this throb that we call a mantra, and this one, Om Mani Padme Hum, that then helps us become attuned to that. So a mantra is like a tuning fork. It attunes us to what's already present within us, what we are the embodiment of, that we are an expression of. So it helps us become attuned to that. So Om Mani Padme Hum is that. So as we're chanting that, we're becoming absorbed in that. And then also Om Taré Tam Soha is Red Tara mantra. So it'll be Om Mani Padme Hum, it'll also be Om Taré Tam Soha. Red Tara mantra is a mantra that is used to draw. It's said that Red Tara, is one of her powers, is to draw to the seeker all that they need to become free. To remove obstacles and have everything a seeker needs to support them on their path to freedom. Om Taré Tam Soha, Om Taré Tam Soha. So Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And in my heart, I also dedicate this to Bob Thurman and all beings who have left their body and are continuing on their journey, because these are also mantras, especially Om Mani Padme Hum, that are chanted both for dealing with sickness, but also in the transition from this life into the next, and that family members and teachers would do the Mani mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, to help guide the soul in its journey to be drawn to the light, because the mantra is not only a sound form, it's a light form. The light of consciousness, of that boundless compassion and wisdom, drawing it back to its very source and its radical state of freedom. So we'll chant for a few minutes, and then we'll just sit in the stillness. If the stillness is disturbed by the mind, just bring it back to mantra. Just bring it back. Just let it rest there. And when it becomes completely still and silent, enjoy that. If it moves again, let it move with mantra, so that it's all moving with grace. And we can feel that flow of grace and be in that graceful flow state. So we'll chant now. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Taré Tam Soha. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So we end with this prayer that may all our practices truly benefit everyone, and may all beings become completely free of suffering. Namaste. So as Lao Tzu said, coming home to the Tao, the practice of eternality, coming home to what's eternal, unchanging, the unchanging light of awareness that illuminates all experiences, positive, negative, neutral, whatever it might be, waking, dream, deep sleep, all illuminated by the One. Coming home to the eternal, the boundless, rapturous joy that is the very nature of that beingness of who we are. That I'm happy because, not caused happiness, that's all mental, that's all ephemeral. No, what's the eternal joy? Peace. The peace that is uncaused by anything. The peace that is unshakable because it doesn't rest on any particular conditions. I'm not at peace because I am peace. I'm not joyous and happy because I am joy. I'm not conscious because the mind is active. No, I'm consciousness itself that illuminates all. That's what it is to come home to knowing one's eternal nature, one's true nature, that illuminates all that's ephemeral and gives us a place of steady wisdom from which to view that and empowered to then move skillfully in the domain of the ephemeral. So all the practices bring us to that. So thank you for being ones doing practices that empower you to walk the wisdom of your true nature into the world, into your lives, your relationships, your work, everything. So important for this time that we have people who are carrying that light of awareness, that light of truth, that light of wisdom, compassion. That's what you embody. That's your source. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for supporting us by coming to programs, engaging in what we offer, your donations, by watching the videos and giving them a thumbs up or making a comment. Just because the way YouTube works, every thumbs up, every like, and every comment tells its algorithm, show it to more people. So a simple thing like that, when you do that, it helps us to expand how we can serve more people and support people in becoming aware of the truth of who they are and the state of freedom that empowers us to enjoy. So thank you. Thank you. And thank you for coming this evening and bringing the fullness of your being. And I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks. Jai Ma.